Hey, what's up? This is Johnny McBee and from the Browning, and I'm blowing it up on MetalgodZradiO.
Metal Gods!
You have a new album out that came out in December. It's the third record for Spinefarm entitled End of Existence.
Yeah, it came out in December, and I spent about 2 years working on it, and it's been a process, and the fans are really happy with it, and I'm very happy with it. It's totally unique, even for the Browning, and just a ton of work.
And is that a working title that you've had for quite some time?
I had a couple different iterations of what the title was going to be, but I created. Actually, it was the second song in the album, Destroyer, where I say End of Existence, and that's whenever I came up that would be the album title.
How is it putting out new music during a pandemic? Did you have any hesitations?
Yeah, the album was done for quite a while before it came out, just because the industry is so used to you put out an album, you go on tour, and that's it. Then you do the cycle. And so without touring being there, everyone was kind of hesitant to do so. For me personally, I wanted everything to come out as early as possible, just because myself and the Browning as a whole is so internet-based that I knew that I could still interact a bunch and it would still be worth it to come out, even without being able to tour, because I personally do a lot of stuff to interact with my fans online that they wanted the music, and people consume the music more than they consume a live show. So I just wanted to get it out there as quickly as possible.
And you said the feedback has been the feedback is pretty much always positive. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean there's certain aspects that are negative, and especially with the Browning sound being so unique, that I expect that there's going to be some people that absolutely despise it. And so, but Browning fans, the long-term Browning fans and new Browning fans are people that are seemingly open to creativity and open to genre-bending ideas, melding different things together. And so, not that I could put out absolutely anything and a Browning fan would be happy with it, but they're very much so just into the creative diversity that the Browning has to offer, because it's metal with techno, with rap, with rock, with industrial. There's so many different elements in it that really this album took all of those and really accentuated it nicely.
Yeah, I know quite a few Browning fans that are also big tech death fans, and also fans of what some call metalcore. You think people are a little more open to the different subgenres now than they may have been before?
Yeah, at times, definitely. I think in Europe, people are a lot more open than in the States. And I think that the Browning kind of, no matter what genre you're into, there's a song that can correlate into that subgenre. And so you can find something in the Browning that is a song that you would like. And then also, I think that the Browning is a nice, for someone that specifically wants like heavy aggressive music, the Browning is a nice little addition into a playlist, because it breaks it up a little bit just as far as the tones and everything. It's not just guitar, bass, drum, vocals. It's that plus, 80 layers of background atmospheres and whatnot.
And I see all of your music is available on Spotify now. Was there a time? There was a time where your early albums were not available. Is that right?
Yeah, there was a issue with the old label, not like some fight over rights or anything like that. It was just the old label. It wasn't just to the Browning. It was to every band that used to be on their label. They removed all of the music offline. And so it was a good 5 years that the first two albums weren't online at all. And the label full, no communication or anything. And so it's nice to have those online, because honestly, that was the biggest struggle with putting out new music as the Browning, because the Browning's now been around for long enough that those first two albums are very nostalgic to people. People listen to them where they are very young. Now they're adults. They want to listen to it and, have those memories. And so fans were upset thinking that it was us that took the music down, but it's nice for him to be back. So now I can release music without every single fan being like, I want the old albums. Where are they at? So it's nice that those came out before the new album came out, so that when the new album came out, that was the focus.
Seemed mind-boggling that a company that's involved in selling product would remove their product from the market.
Yeah, I have some theories about them and the whole reason for that. I'm sure that there was, this is my own speculation because these fools don't communicate, but I think they were personally tied up in some sort of legal lawsuit with another label that had bought them out at one point, but then that fell through. And so I think that there was a back catalog issue with their contract and with their lawsuit to where they had to remove all of the old music off of existence. And so that's me speculating. I don't know if that's true or not, but once the albums came back online, I talked to them because they just popped back on them like, you guys need to talk to me. Like, why is this happening? Because now they need to start paying me royalties, And so they said that some of the old guards that were in the label got the boot, and they had some new people in that made them do things properly. So for me, at this point, I give a crap less if they pay me for those old records. I just want the music up so that my fans can be happy and I can put out more music without the fans wanting the old stuff still,
Well, that's a sort of a fun sounding conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, I had a few things during that whole process that kind of happened that made me land towards that, because that label, I don't know if I should even mention their name, but they merged with another label for certain releases, and then that label then got bought by Sony, right? And then because at one point a couple years ago, I got reached out by Sony and said, hey, I have a bunch of your first two albums. Do you want them? Because they had a bunch of them in their warehouse. And I'm like, why does Sony have those albums? And then it sparked in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, they merged with a company that got bought by them, but then the merger got screwed up, and then our label sued that other label, and then everything gets removed offline. So it seemed like one of my thoughts / conspiracies is maybe that lawsuit, because they sued that other label for them not distributing those albums in the merger properly. So one of my thoughts is every band that was a part of that merger was probably owed money from that lawsuit, and that they probably erased everything to not have any ties to the bands that were part of that merger.
The music business.
Yes. Yeah, that's in a nutshell what it is.
Wow, how convoluted is that?
I know, dude. It's crazy, and that's why at this point, I'm just glad that I'm on a good label, and I've been with them for a few years, and everything's perfect with them. Spinefarm, they're part of Universal, and it's just I'm just glad the old albums are back so that I don't even have to think about it anymore,
No doubt. Is master's ownership is still a sticking point for deals between bands and record companies? Yeah,
definitely, and that's a big part of it. And as an artist, I personally think, and most people are realizing this, I think that in the modern world, you don't particularly need a label. The biggest label reason you needed one was to front the money for recording costs, and then also front the money for CDs and distribution to stores. Well, in the modern world, you don't need any of that. You can record your album on a laptop, like I did, end of existence, You don't distribute to stores anymore like Best Buy or FYE because everything's just streaming. So all you have to do is pay a $15 DistroKid fee, and your music's distributed just like a label would do it. And so and then you can personally reach out to media outlets to do interviews and podcasts and stuff like this. So to me, in the modern world, there's no point to have a label, unless if you're talking the big time, like they're putting millions of dollars into marketing and, stuff like that. And so really, whenever I signed that initial contract, that was like 2010, and I was 18 years old. What do you expect? But I think in the modern world, a lot of people are realizing you can be completely independent and be just as successful.
Which do you enjoy the most, writing, recording, or performing, or do you like them equally?
Pretty much the whole reason I really love the metal genre is because the live performance aspect of it. No other genre has the same energy that metal does, but also, probably the most satisfying thing in my life is sitting down and working on a song, sitting there for 8 hours from scratch and coming up with something really awesome and then putting it in the car and playing it full volume. That's like probably the most satisfying thing in my life is doing that. And I'll listen to that song for a month straight on repeat, And I have so much music that never has been released to the public that I just love and I listen to myself that I've created. And so I would say that overall the biggest sense of happiness I get from the music is directly after writing a song, for sure, and just listening to it myself.
What are your thoughts on the scene of your particular style of music?
I think that it's extremely boring, and I think that it's an issue, like big time. And it's actually one of my big efforts with this album was to not fall in line with what everyone in my scene is doing. All these bands that are supposed to be this more extreme, aggressive metal are writing songs with rock and roll song structures and, pop radio song structures to where you can say exactly what the song's going to do before it even happens. And they're doing entire albums of it. There's nothing surprising. There's nothing, it's not as catchy as they think it is. It's not going to get them radio play like they think it is. And it makes the genre as a whole very boring, and I can't stand it. And so with this album, I didn't have a single song that is a standard structure. The production of it, I didn't use any standard presets that any producer uses. I created all this stuff on my own. I didn't care if it sounded of quote unquote industry quality. I just did what I wanted to do and create something that no one else is doing, because the metalcore genre is the most boring genre out there. It might as well be country music.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We look forward to catching you on the road. Are there any have there been any reasonable touring offers for you for the next 6 months or so?
We've gotten some, but I'm personally waiting until it's completely like structurally stable out there with the music venues. To put myself out there. Like I'm really happy in my life, and really, I started a business whenever COVID started so I can make money outside music, because touring was pretty much my source of income. And so, I started a knife company. It's called Fearless Knives. And so I travel the country right now selling knives all over the place. And, so I'm just taking it as it comes and waiting for, the venues and everything to be really, really stable so that whenever I go out, it's not so stressful, And so no tours as of right now, but I'm just going to keep that online interaction with my fans at a maximum and, interact in that way. I just tell people if you're making music, do something that is creative and not falling in line with everything else, because falling in line never gets anyone's attention. It really doesn't. And so break the meta, do something that's unique and is you rather than what someone else is doing. Find your niche and stick to it. Definitely.